I'm here with a brand new Cupra Born EV. I'm going to be taking this car down on a long range test drive down to Cornwall for a camping trip with me and my girlfriend. And we're going to really see how practical EVs are at long range driving. So I've never actually owned an EV, and this is going to be my first time taking one for a long distance drive. Whenever I've been down to service stations, I always see empty chargers, so I've never actually thought that there might be an issue with getting a charger to work for this car or just having one available that's not out of order. After talking to a few of my colleagues, it's become clear that a lot of people will be apprehensive to take an EV on a long-term drive, and doing some Googling on forums, it feels like it's the general same way. So this Cupra Born model has a 58 kilowatt battery and claims that it'll do 260 miles on a full charge. Because I drove it home from work yesterday, we're on about 92%, which is 210 miles. Our destination is 208 miles down to Cornwall. I don't think I'm going to be brave enough to leave it with 2 miles left on the battery, so I'm definitely going to be charging on the way down. And I'm excited but apprehensive at the same time to see how difficult or easy that it's going to be. So, update on the journey so far, we've made it 70 miles to our halfway stop, Sedgemoor Services. In terms of worrying about chargers, how they're going to work, if there are any working and if there are any available, I don't know if maybe we got lucky, but it was totally fine here. It's been absolutely smooth sailing. We've managed to get a charger, we've managed to plug it in with relative ease. There's instructions on the thing, so yeah, it's all been great so far. The journey, motorway driving in an EV, has been a dream. The adaptive cruise control, some of the other features in the car which I'll run through later with you, have been absolutely brilliant. I can't complain at the moment. It's all been great driving an EV long distance. Catch up with you in Cornwall. Touch wood, everything's still been smooth sailing and we get there fine. But if anything, the journey so far to go off, it's all been great. Right. So as you can clearly see, we've made it down to Cornwall, and the Cupra Born has absolutely met and smashed all expectations that I had of it. I just wanted to take you through a few points and thoughts about the drive before I take you into the full breakdown of the entire car. So as far as driving goes, it was very smooth, handled the road brilliantly, as you would expect from an EV. The main feature, which I thought was absolutely brilliant and made it such an ease to drive, was the adaptive cruise control. It's something that obviously is on quite a lot of vehicles and it's not exactly exclusive to EVs, but on this it worked really well, and the heads-up display worked so well with it. It actually drew a line under the car that was in front of you, and rather than just drawing a line where it thought that the car was, it actually followed the car backwards and forwards. So when you've got your adaptive cruise control on, sometimes your car feels like it's doing really random things, whereas what that does is it actually shows you what it's doing and why it's doing that. That was by far the best feature on the way down. Typically people who go camping are quite environmentally conscious, but they drive gas guzzling cars like Range Rovers or whatnot to try and fit everything in and get down. An EV is a perfect solution for them. It is just that range anxiety and actually that long-term driving. But as camping goes, this has been brilliant so far. I haven't actually charged it around Cornwall yet, but I will give you an update at the end about how it managed to handle the charging infrastructure around here. But as far as EVs go, this has been absolutely brilliant. And as far as long distance driving, there's been no issues at all from the car itself, and the infrastructure has been pretty good. Just going to jump in and interrupt myself here. As you can see, the holiday's clearly over and I'm back at work now. I just wanted to have a quick chat about the charger infrastructure down in Cornwall and how I found it charging over the bank holiday. So in Cornwall, the chargers do seem to be few and far between. If you're not in one of the big areas like Newquay or St Ives or anywhere like that, they can be a bit difficult to find. The one thing that was our best friend throughout this whole bank holiday was Zap-Map. Going on there and seeing which chargers were available, working, would take the right form of payment and the right chargers for our vehicle was an absolute lifesaver. it meant that we had confidence knowing where we was going. It was accurate all the time when we found it as well. If it wasn't for Zap-Map, or if Zap-Map did turn out to be inaccurate, then we probably would have been in trouble, because some of the charges were roughly around 20 miles separate from each other, and that was in the more rural areas around Cornwall. So we were really fortunate and really lucky that we had this tool to be able to plan for us. So although I said it did seem really easy to drive down to Cornwall and find all the charges at the services, you know when you're stopping at services there's going to be charges. But when you're at a campsite or in an area where there doesn't seem to be loads of electric cars or loads of infrastructure for the electric vehicles, that can be slightly unnerving. So although it wasn't impossible, it was quite inconvenient having to wait and having to find chargers, and although the app was really easy to use, having to use an app and rely on it to be able to know where you're going to go for that day, knowing that you'd have to stop at some point. But anyway, that's how I found charging in Cornwall. Let's get into the user review of the Cupra Born. Okay, so time to show you the Cupra Born inside and out and all the features that we really like of it. This Cupra Born is the V3 model with a 58 kilowatt battery. As you can see, it's based off of the Volkswagen ID.3, both inside and the outside. They very much look alike. This just has a Cupra spin on it, where you can see obviously Cupra badge, clearly it's a Cupra car. It's got the copper accents on it, and the front of it does actually look a lot more sporty, a bit more meaner than what the ID.3 does. Personally, I prefer it. I know there's some that prefer the Volkswagen over this, but that's just my opinion. We've got the 20-inch Hurricane wheels on the side with some plastic aero-y bits on them as well, which seems to be the style now. These EVs tend to be going a bit funkier with the look of it all. You've got it in a nice grey, really like this grey. It also comes in a blue, a red, which looks really nice as well. Coming down the side, you've got a different textured panel on here, which is really interesting, and some nice skirts down at the bottom, which again gives it that slightly more aggressive and a bit more of a sporty look to it. At the back, we've got some more nice features, which again, following the theme of being a bit sportier and a bit meaner on this EV, which look really nice. You've got, for example, the light bar that goes all the way across here. Really cool, that. More common on modern cars now. You've got the Cupra copper finishes, which of course every Cupra is going to have, which I think looks really nice, especially against the grey. You've got carbon fibre finish on the boot release, which again looks really smart. And you've got a diffuser down here. Not too sure how practical or how much real world use it actually has, but again, it looks pretty cool. So inside the Cupra, you can see clearly the car that it's based off of, the ID.3 coming through here. You've got your central screen, your digital display, and your gear mode selector, which all look the same. This has just got obviously the Cupra spin on it, which in my opinion, I do much prefer it. I think it's really nice. You've got some nice Cupra features here, along with, you know, a lot of copper trim throughout and some lighting on the doors. You've got this suede material, which is on a lot of the parts where your arms are going to touch, and on the seats, which I think works really well. Again, more copper within the seats. I do think it looks really modern and does look really nice, to be fair. You've got a nice big storage bin in here. Not sure what I would personally put in it, but a lot of people have put a lot of things in it. You've got a nice shelf here for your phone, which I think is a brilliant feature, and some charger points down there. So armrest does come down and does slide forward, which I think works really well. I do wish, however, it would lock into place probably around about there, or if it, you know, different heights, whatever. I thought it'd be a bit more ergonomical on the arm, a bit more comfortable while you're driving, but it doesn't. You've got a sliding retractable door there with your cup holders and another storage bin. You can put some hand sanitizer, sunglasses, I don't know, whatever you wanted in there. Or you can close it down for a nice, cleaner and sleeker look. Moving up to the infotainment system, I know a lot of my colleagues mentioned that it felt a bit complicated. There's a lot of menus, a lot of different ways you can go into things. I do agree with that. It's got over-the-air Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which we have been screaming for ages. It's a brilliant feature. It's so nice. It gets rid of having to have your phone plugged in all the time and having cables dragging everywhere. We really, really like that. Going into the climate control, this is where this kind of falls down a little bit. You've got these touch buttons here, which nobody really likes. We want physical buttons. I get what they're trying to do here. They're trying to keep it clean and sleek and as minimalist as possible, which it does look like that and it does work. But in terms of actual practicality, just having that dial is so much easier, because when you go into the climate change, you know, you've got to touch around and mess with, you know, the arrows of where you want your air to come out, and, you know, your air conditioning and everything. And by that time, you're already in a ditch somewhere on the side of the road because you're just too confused and don't know what's going on. Moving over to the digital display, it's very small. Not sure why they've made it that small. I guess it's going along the lines of the minimalist look for it. It works. It doesn't give you a load of customization, but it gives you a little bit of what you need. The drive selector is, although it's, you know, I think it works really well, it is in a difficult position. When I first got in the car, you know, you're having to look around the steering wheel and going, oh, okay, right, drive's up there. You know, it is a bit hidden, which doesn't really work. The steering wheel controls, again, the touch buttons I don't think are that bad, but these two here on the side are a bit of a nightmare. You don't realise that you have to slide them rather than touching them to get them to function. And I know that one of my colleagues in the office actually had to drive home with the car on full volume because she couldn't figure out how to turn the volume back down. When you drive in and you slide the steering wheel through your hands or whatever, you tend to catch them as well, which is just a pain and not very great. One of the best features of this car that I did mention, however, earlier, was the augmented reality within the heads-up display. I think that works so well, and it aids you without being super distracted. That being said, you can only use it with the Cupra Infotainment system. It doesn't work with Android Auto or your Apple CarPlay maps. So that's a sacrifice you've got to make with that one. In the back of the car, again, another comfortable place to be. You've got some nice features in the back of here. You've got plenty of space. I'm 6'2" and I've got some knee room there. That's with the front seat being set to my driving position anyway. I've got some headroom above, not loads, but you know, I wouldn't be uncomfortable in the back of this on a car journey. You've got some charger ports down here as well, so the people in the rear can charge their car. Here you've got a armrest there with some cup holders in it, some like bit of a rubber feel to it, so they're not going to go slipping and sliding around in there. And then another nice feature, which isn't on many small hatchbacks, but you've got a ski hatch there, which or some through loading for if you're going on holiday or camping, as I did. Yeah, really nice place to be. Works quite well back here. I don't know how you would fare with having 3 people in the back over a longer journey, but for 1 or 2 people it is quite comfortable. So taking a look at the boot, we've got a relatively nice large space. As I mentioned, when I went camping, I managed to fit everything that I needed within this car. Obviously I had the seats folded down. This has a 385 litre capacity boot. The Ioniq 5 does have a 527 litre boot, and the EV6 has a 490 litre boot. So this is the smallest out of a lot of the EVs that you're going to be able to get a hold of. It does also have quite a big lip at the back here, so if you know you're loading shopping in and out all the time, that could get a bit frustrating. It does have a secondary lip there where you can install a false floor if you wanted to keep stuff hidden away, your charger, cable, whatever. It does have that. But overall, although it is the smaller of the boots, I think that it's actually quite still a decent size for a hatchback. Another really nice addition, which, well, 2 additions that we found in the Cupra Born, which not a lot of car manufacturers do, so it's really nice that they've added these in. It's something small, but it can go a lot in making a big difference. First of all, when you open your glove box, you will find a little black box which has within it a Cupra branded bracelet. So they've got something here that says welcome to the tribe, so you can walk around with a Cupra branded bracelet and let everyone know you own a Cupra if you wish to do so. The next thing that you can do is you can add a little patch onto your key, which means you can make it customizable. Again, really nice feature that is just a little add-on that you don't necessarily need to do, but it's quite cool to see. The next one is they've got a Cupra branded USB cable for your charging needs within the car. You've got a micro USB, a lightning cable and a USB-C, so you'd have to go out and buy one. It's already comes with the car. Really nice features that Cupra have added in there, so yeah, really impressed with that.